Okay, good day, students. Today is lesson 10. Okay, lesson 10 will be focusing on guided essay, which is notes expansion. Okay, this is the second part. Okay, this is the second part of paper 2, notes expansion. Now, again, we'll be using type, challenges, as well as tips. Now, first thing, type. This task based on a stimulus. Okay, word limit 120 words. This is your word limit. But must you write within 120 words? No. Is it wrong if you were to write exactly 120 words? No. Can you write more than 120 words? Yes. Okay, stimuli are given to assist students to develop the task. So you are given assistance to write the task. Okay, you are given points or some form of guidance. Now, the challenges. The first challenge is to meet the requirements of the questions. Meeting the requirements of the questions. Memenuhi kehendak soalan. The second one is comprehending the task. Understanding what the task is. And then to keep the essay intact. From the introduction right up to the conclusion, you need to keep the essay intact. Okay. You also need to maintain the balance between grammar, style, and manner. Your grammar must be accurate throughout the essay. The style as well as the manner has to be accurate as well. There should be a balance. It should not be too informal. Whatever question that is being asked, you need to abide by the decorum or the order. If it is a report or it is an article, it has to be formal. If it is based on a story, it has to be expressive. Okay. If it is something that you have to describe, it has to be descriptive. So there has to be a balance between the grammar. Grammar, you cannot make mistakes with grammar. You can't make mistakes with subject-verb agreement. You can't confuse tenses. If it is a story or a recount, something that happened in the past, it has to be in the past tense, no compromise. The style and the manner with which you present your writing. These are all the challenges. Okay, for that, what are the tips? The first tip, read the question carefully. I will repeat this for every single tip, for every single part. You've got to read the question carefully and then identify the format. You need to know what format it is. And then identify the keywords. What are the keywords elements? And then identify your role. Who are you in writing this particular essay? And identify your target audience or your recipient, the one who is receiving your essay or the one who is listening to you, the one who is reading your essay in the context of the question. Now, a composition of a good essay. A good essay will have to have these three elements. Okay, now we'll discuss the elements. If you want to consider an essay to be a good essay, it has to have good vocabulary as well as grammar, good sentence structure, maturity in thoughts and ideas. Okay, now let's talk about vocabulary and grammar. Grammar first. Of course, we have discussed this earlier. Parts of speech. There are 8 parts of speech. Then we have subject-verb agreement. Okay, and then we also have models. We have articles and whatnot. Okay, and for vocabulary, we need to use the correct, contextually relevant, contextually correct vocabulary. Okay, and we also have sentence structure. When we talk about sentence structure, there are active sentences, there are passive sentences. There are also simple sentences, there are complex sentences, there are compound sentences, there are compound complex sentences. It's a combination of compound and complex. Okay, so these are sentence structures. Okay, in the future, should we have time, I will probably teach you all this in detail. But I suppose most of you should know all this already. And then eventually we have maturity in thoughts and ideas. When we talk about maturity in thoughts and ideas, this is something that is acquired. Vocabulary, you learn. You learn a new word. Grammar rules, you learn. Sentence structure, you learn them as well. Sentence structures, you learn them. But maturity in thoughts and ideas, this is something that we do not learn, but we acquire. How do we acquire it? We acquire this through a constant, perpetual habit of reading. We need to read on a regular basis. We need to always read. We need to at least read 10 pages of a book. At least, minimum 10 pages a day. Okay? And I'm talking about books, yeah? All right. Now, paragraphs for factual essays. Well, it may look a bit too fast for you, but in the future, in the days to come, I'll go in detail as to how we go about developing the paragraphs. Now, the focus now is for factual essay. All right? The focus now is for factual essay. Now, we need to understand that there can be factual essays, there can be story writing as well. But we'll start with factual essay because an article or a report or anything to be discussed in an outcome of a discussion, everything is generally factual. So we'll go about developing factual essays. I have an innovation that I've created. It is called the mere method. It works this way. See, when you have factual content points, we already have content points now. So we elaborate the content points, or we expand the content points, or we explain the content points in these 4 divisions. Main point, M for main point, E for elaboration, E for example, R for reiteration of main point. So mere, main point, elaboration, example, reiteration of main point. So when we talk, so MEER is mere. So this method I call as mere method. Now, the main point is stated clearly and with precision. Okay, that's for the main point, which is followed by elaboration. The main idea is elaborated well. The main point here is elaborated here. So when you are stating a main point, the main point has to be always direct, clear, short, and precise. The main idea is elaborated well. Students are to widely exhibit their language proficiency through a detailed expression here. That's what happens here. And then we'll move on to examples, whereby the main idea is developed with an explicit example, which is clear, direct, specific, and in-depth. So you must choose a very particular, specific, clear, direct example. So you can use these terms. For an example, to exemplify, to illustrate, for an instance. Okay, these are to show an example. And lastly, we have reiteration of main point, penekanan atau penegasan isi utama, so that your main point does not go astray. It does not go out of radar. Okay, so the main point is reiterated. Reiterated, it means penegasan, penekanan semula, so that the candidate is able to show that he is intact with the main idea and has not deviated. So you can use words such as hence, thus, therefore, so, to highlight the repetition or the reinstating or the reiteration of the main point. Now, paragraphs for narrative essay. You see, for factual essay, there are facts. So we know facts for a fact. So the ideas we can develop through mere method. Now, for story, we don't have that. So what we can do is we can break it into sequence. So we can have 6 sequence of events. There is only one event but we have 6 sequences. Here, you see, there is main story, main idea, or a main story, and main story is broken into 6 sequences. For example, it is about a success story, and a very usual, a very common example. Someone who comes from a very poor family eventually studies well and becomes very successful. That's the main idea. How do we break it into sequence? Sequence number 1, we can talk about the background, about the personality of the boy, the person. Family background. How is he in the school? Attitude towards school. Sequence number 4, his sacrifices towards exam. Sequence number 5, his exam, his attitude towards the exam, and how well he wrote the exam, and what was the result. Sequence number 6, how successful he is today, and where did he study, and how is he now, and how much does he help poor people. So one story broken into 6 sequences. That is how you develop a narrative story. Now, this may seem very ideal on the example, or you may feel that all these are a bit too ambiguous and you don't understand. Never mind. In the days to come, we will go through both the types. We'll go through the factual as well as the story. So I want you, all of you, and even to those who watch this lesson online, please take your time to go into every slide, okay, as you're watching on the YouTube. Pause and take down the notes so that you remember these better. If you were to look at it on a glance, or if you were to screenshot it, you wouldn't take it in as much as if you were to write it down, write all of the points down. Okay, so take your time to go through the slides and copy the notes somewhere. It will be very beneficial. Okay, now today, the vocabulary for today, we have 5 new words. All are from the alphabet I. Imperative, requiring attention or action. Implore is to beg or to request earnestly. Impudence, rude or impertinent. Inane, stupid. Incite, to provoke or to stir up, to conjure. Okay, so these are the 5 new words for you for today. All right, okay, now that's about it for today. It may seem very brief, however, it must if you go through